7 signs you're experiencing parallel timelines right now. There's a shift happening right now that most people can't quite put into words. They feel it. They sense something is different, but they can't explain it in a way that makes sense to the rational mind. That's because it's not just a feeling, it's a frequency adjustment, a collapse and convergence of multiple timelines. Right now, more and more of us are waking up to something absolutely wild. We're not just living one life. We are living in layers. And if you're watching this, it's probably because you've already started experiencing the signs. You've felt the glitches. You've sensed the overlaps. You've lived moments that felt like déjà vu, yet deeper, almost like echoes from a version of you that made a different choice. You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. You are consciously experiencing parallel timelines. Let me break this down logically first, because this isn't just a concept for fantasy fiction or sci-fi films. Quantum physics has already shown us that reality is not a fixed, linear path. It's a field of probabilities. Every decision, every thought, every emotional shift creates a ripple that influences your trajectory. And because we are multidimensional beings, we are not limited to one single outcome. Our consciousness can and does tap into multiple realities, alternate versions of our lives, especially when we start to raise our awareness. Parallel timelines are not just out there. They're happening now, right here, overlapping with your current life. And sometimes you feel them bleed through in ways that are subtle, and sometimes in ways that completely shake your foundation.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first sign you're experiencing parallel timelines is the sudden feeling that you've lived a completely different life without any proof. You might wake up from a dream that felt so real, so emotionally charged, that it haunts your waking life. You remember living in a different city, having a different relationship, even being a different version of yourself, more confident, more wounded, more successful, more lost. And it doesn't feel like fantasy. It feels like memory. This is your soul tapping into another version of you that is currently existing in a different probability stream. What you feel is the bleed-through, the emotional residue. You are not just remembering your sing-sing. That's why it feels so real, because it is. The second sign is time distortion. You look at the clock and time doesn't add up. Hours feel like minutes. Minutes feel like hours. You swear you did something yesterday, but people insist it was last week. You have conversations that feel like they already happened. Sometimes you arrive somewhere and feel like you've been there before, even though you haven't. That's not a coincidence. That's timeline overlap. Your consciousness is jumping, sometimes slightly, sometimes significantly, and your body is trying to catch up. You're existing between layers of reality, and the more aware you are, the more you'll notice these temporal hiccups. The third sign is radical shifts in people around you. One day, someone close to you feels familiar, aligned, safe. The next day, they suddenly feel like a stranger. Their energy is off. Their behavior doesn't match what you remember. It's not that they've changed, it's that you have shifted timelines. And the version of them in this timeline isn't quite the same as the version you were previously connected to. This can be disorienting, especially in close relationships. You might find yourself asking, why do I feel so disconnected from them all of a sudden? The answer isn't always emotional, it's energetic. You've quantum leaped into a different stream, and a version of them in this stream has a different frequency match. The fourth sign is spontaneous downloads, insight, talent, or knowledge that seemingly comes out of nowhere. You wake up one day with a new skill, a new fear, a new clarity that you didn't have before. You start seeing patterns you never noticed. You begin remembering lessons you never studied. That's because the version of you in another timeline did experience those things. And now, your consciousness is integrating them through vibrational alignment. You are beginning to merge with other aspects of yourself. This is not imagination, it's integration. You are becoming multidimensional in your awareness, and what seemed like out of nowhere is really from another where. So let me ask you this, and I want you to really sit with it. What if the version of you that's living your dream life already exists, and the reason you're feeling so off lately is because your soul is trying to catch up to it? What if the discomfort, the confusion, the emotional intensity you're experiencing right now is not a breakdown but a realignment? What if the universe is collapsing timelines so you can finally step into the one you were always meant for? This isn't just spiritual theory, it's practical. And the most powerful thing you can do right now is become hyper-aware of your inner world. Your emotions, your thoughts, your choices, they are steering you. Every time you shift how you see yourself, you shift your vibration. And every shift in vibration unlocks a new doorway, a new version, a new path. Reality glitches and soul mergers, how to know you're jumping timelines. There comes a moment when nothing feels entirely real anymore, not in a terrifying way, but in an eerie, dreamlike way that makes you question the very fabric of your life. You begin to notice subtle shifts in your environment. Things look the same but feel slightly off. You walk into a room you've seen 100 times, and suddenly the color of the walls doesn't match your memory. You recall a conversation with someone, only for them to insist it never happened. You hear a song from your childhood that you swear had different lyrics. These are not just memory lapses. These are reality glitches, and they are one of the clearest signs that you are actively jumping timelines. When you begin to consciously shift from one timeline to another, your inner and outer worlds start to desynchronize for a moment. That's what a glitch really is. It's the lag between your soul's quantum leap and your brain's attempt to rationalize the shift. Your consciousness may have already moved, you've stepped into a new stream of probability where things are slightly altered, but your body, your mind, your senses are catching up. That creates the sensation that something is out of place. This is not a malfunction. This is alignment in progress. And here's where it gets even deeper. Sometimes you'll feel like you are not fully you. You'll wake up feeling like someone else is driving your body. You'll look at your hands, your reflection, your surroundings, and something won't feel quite right. This is because of what I call soul mergers. Parallel versions of you are not separate entities. They are you, living out different choices, carrying different wounds, different wisdoms. And when you begin to evolve consciously, you start merging with those parallel selves. You begin drawing in aspects of them, courage from one, creativity from another, clarity from a third. And yes, that can feel incredibly disorienting, because you're not just becoming a better you, you're becoming a fuller you. You may suddenly feel a surge of confidence you never had before. Or perhaps you feel grief over something you didn't experience in this life. You may crave foods you never liked, or feel drawn to a language, a culture, a place you've never known. That's not random. That's the memory of a parallel self echoing through your current field. And it's happening because your vibration is rising to a point where you're no longer trapped in a single storyline. You're branching out. You're absorbing. You're remembering, putting the pieces of your multidimensional self back together. But here's what most people miss. When you shift timelines, you don't just gain, you lose. You lose resonance with people, places, patterns tied to your old reality. You start to feel disconnected from friends you once felt close to. You no longer enjoy the same hobbies. Your goals begin to evolve. This is not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that your frequency has changed. The old version of you who needed those things has stepped aside to make space for a new expression of your soul. And if you try to hold on to the old while stepping into the new, you'll feel torn, like you're living two lives at once. That's because you are, and the tension won't ease until you choose which version of yourself you're willing to embody. Let me ask you something your higher self has probably been whispering for a while. What parts of your current life feel like echoes from a story that's already ended? What are you still carrying that belongs to a timeline you've already outgrown? Because to fully step into the timeline that's calling you, the one that's been vibrating just beyond your reach, you have to let go of the anchors that keep you tethered to the old. That includes outdated beliefs, expired identities, and emotional attachments that no longer serve your evolution. The soul doesn't cling, it expands. And sometimes that expansion requires a collapse. The collapse of who you thought you were, so the truth of who you are can take its place. This is the real work of timeline shifting. It's not just about manifesting new outcomes. It's about embodying new realities. And that embodiment starts with awareness. Awareness of the glitches. Awareness of the soul mergers. Awareness of the inner friction that tells you when you're out of alignment. Once you become conscious of it, you can start to navigate it. You can start to choose your responses. You can begin to deliberately steer your vibration toward the reality you want to live in, not out of desperation, but out of deep knowing that it already exists. Because it does. It's already here. You're not chasing a better future. You're collapsing the distance between you and a version of reality where everything you desire is already unfolding. And every time you choose truth over fear, presence over distraction, embodiment over performance, you quantum leap closer. The multiverse within, why your intuition is the map to your highest timeline. There's a moment in your awakening where you stop looking outside of yourself for guidance. You stop chasing signs, stop asking others what to do, stop waiting for the universe to hand you a roadmap. Instead, you begin to listen to something deeper, quieter, and infinitely more powerful than anything external. That voice isn't loud, but it's unmistakable. It doesn't shout, but it speaks with absolute clarity. That voice is your intuition. And what most people don't realize is that your intuition isn't just a spiritual tool, it is your internal GPS. It is the map embedded in your soul that leads you through the maze of infinite parallel timelines toward the one you were born to embody. The multiverse isn't just out there, it's encoded within you. Every possible version of your life is already vibrating in your field. You've already made every decision in some reality. You've already failed. You've already succeeded. You've already lived as the version of you who said yes to the thing you just said no to. And your intuition is like a radio dial tuned into the frequency of the timeline that most closely matches your current vibration. When you feel that inner pull, that gentle knowing, that flash of insight, you can't explain, that's your soul pointing to a thread that, if followed, will unravel the path to the next highest version of your life. But here's where most people get stuck. They don't trust it. They override it with logic. They silence it with doubt. They postpone it with procrastination. And in doing so, they miss the moment. Because every intuitive nudge has a window. A timeline opens when you're energetically ready to step into it. And if you hesitate too long, that version begins to fade. Not forever, but for now. Because timelines are living, breathing currents of energy. They respond to momentum, to belief, to action. And your intuition is the only part of you that can see through the illusion of time and space to detect which timeline is pulsing with the most light, the most alignment, the most truth. You've felt this before. The sudden urge to reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in years. The random idea that hits you in the shower and won't let go. The gut feeling that a job, a city, a relationship is no longer aligned, even if nothing looks wrong on the surface. That's not randomness. That's data. Soul-level data. Downloaded in real time from the version of you who's already taken the leap. And when you follow it, when you act on it without needing a guarantee, that's when magic begins to unfold. Because intuition is the bridge between potential and embodiment. It's how you collapse the space between where you are and where your soul is calling you to be. But intuition isn't just about big decisions. It's about the micro moments. The times you choose rest over hustle because your body is speaking. The times you walk a different route home and meet someone who changes your life. The times you say no to what looks perfect because something inside you whispers, not this. These are the unseen threads that shape your future. These are the decisions that shift your trajectory without you even realizing it. And the more you honor those nudges without needing to justify them, the more you anchor into your highest timeline. Let me ask you something that may change the way you see your entire life. What if every time you ignored your intuition, you delayed a version of yourself that was already thriving? What if the thing you're waiting for, the breakthrough, the connection, the piece is on the other side of one choice you've been too afraid to make? Because here's the truth, your intuition will never lead you toward comfort. It will lead you toward alignment. And alignment often requires discomfort. It requires leaving behind identities you've outgrown. It requires grieving timelines that no longer serve you. It requires saying goodbye to the version of you that settled so you can become the one who soars. And that's not easy, but it's worth everything. You don't need a plan. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step, the one your soul already knows, the one your intuition has been quietly repeating. That's how you quantum leap, not by doing everything at once, but by doing the one thing that aligns you with the reality where your power is already fully expressed. And the more you do this, the more you'll realize that you were never lost. You were just layered. All the versions of you, all the timelines, all the potential, it's all inside you. Waiting, calling, guiding, and your intuition? That's the key to the door. Your timeline is listening. The final choice that changes everything, forever. There comes a point in this journey, a quiet, irreversible moment when everything you've learned, everything you've felt, everything you've remembered converges into a single truth. You are not waiting on your timeline is waiting on you. It's not sitting out there like a distant island you have to swim to. It's circling you right now, orbiting your field, waiting for one thing, your choice. Not your hope, not your wish, not even your belief, but your embodied decision to become the version of yourself who no longer needs to be convinced of their own power. Because reality doesn't respond to indecision, it responds to conviction. This is the ultimate secret that even most spiritual seekers miss. Your timeline, your highest, most aligned, soul-authored timeline is conscious. It's a living energy stream that responds to your vibration in real time. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take either pulls it closer or pushes it further. It's not static, it's sentient. And it's always listening, not to your affirmations but to your frequency, not to what you say you want but to what you allow yourself to embody. That's the real manifestation, not the vision board, not the journal, but the alignment, the choice that says, I am no longer available for what drains me, dims me, or delays me. That choice changes everything. And here's where it gets deep. You've already been living mini versions of this truth. Every time you chose to walk away from something that didn't serve your growth, your timeline shifted. Every time you said yes to your intuition, even when it terrified you, your vibration recalibrated. Every time you stopped betraying your own energy to make someone else comfortable, the quantum field rearranged itself around your new standard. These weren't random moments. They were quantum pivots. You were training yourself to hold the frequency of your next level. And now, that level is no longer a concept. It's a timeline. It's here, and it's listening. But this is where the final choice becomes everything. because you can feel it. You know there's one decision, maybe small, maybe massive, that you've avoided. One conversation, one action, one leap, one truth you haven't fully stepped into yet. And that's the moment the timeline split. That's the moment you either loop back into the old story or quantum jump into the new one. This moment is sacred. It's not about pressure. It's about power, your power to choose. Every time you choose truth over comfort, your future shifts. Every time you choose alignment over approval, your path clears. Every time you choose your soul over your fear, you jump. And yes, it's uncomfortable, because the old timeline wants you back. It wants you safe, predictable, manageable. It will use nostalgia. It will use self-doubt. It will send people to question you, distract you, seduce you back into the familiar. That's how you know the shift is real. The resistance is proof. But here's the thing. The discomfort of leaving the old is nothing compared to the regret of staying where your soul no longer lives. So let me ask you this, from the deepest place within you. If today was the final day, the universe offered you a portal to step into your highest timeline, would you take it? Or would you wait again for the right time, the clear sign, the perfect conditions? Because I promise you, this is the sign. This is the moment. This is the version of you that the future has been waiting for. You don't need to be more healed, more ready, more perfect. You need to be available. Available to receive. Available to act. Available to become. That's what activates the timeline. Not worthiness, willingness. Your timeline is not somewhere you arrive. It's something you align with. And once you do, reality begins to respond in ways that seem impossible to those still trapped in linear time. Synchronicities explode, resources appear, the right people show up, opportunities unfold, and it all feels strangely inevitable, because it is. The highest version of your life isn't something you chase, it's something you remember, and once you remember it, you become it. You are not just one version of yourself, you are a multiverse in motion. You are a walking constellation of choices, dreams, timelines, and destinies. And right now, in this exact moment, all those versions are watching, waiting, listening. And the one you choose to embody today will ripple through every future you could ever live. So take the leap, make the call, say the thing, begin the project, end the loop, trust the vision, follow the nudge. Burn the old script and write a new one with your soul as the author. Because this is the choice that changes everything. Your highest timeline is already here and now. So are you.